It's Anna's chance now. Will she decide to follow her mother into the unknown, or will she decide it's too much for her? Let's find out. Many weeks passed, and Anna grew more impatient with every passing day. Her mother tried to explain that Nick and Tori had lives too. They couldn't just drop everything to be at her beck and call. But Anna was spoiled and used to the right now version of things. She had almost given up her constant whining on the subject when her mother gave her the news. Nick was coming! He would be there on May 7th, and Anna couldn't wait. She felt like a schoolgirl waiting for her prom date to arrive. She had never experienced that, but she thought that must be how it felt. This man came to take something from her that she could never get back, just like the virgin prom dates of the willing young boys that accompanied them. Now, all she could do was wait for 4 more days. She was sure she would never make it. She might explode with anticipation. But she did, to her surprise, make it. She did not die from being denied the right now of it all, and she was over the top happy. May 7th was a Saturday. It was a beautiful spring day, and everything was coming alive after its cold winter sleep. The irony wasn't lost on Anna that, as everything else struggled to live, all she wanted to do was die. She wanted to be free of the mortal coils that were wrapped around her like the coils of a viper. She wanted to be free. No pain, no struggle, no fear would be her reward for one night of suffering. And she could spare many children many days of suffering afterward. It was still her main objective, but she did find herself wondering what it would mean for her life in the long term. Would she be happy in this new life, or would the endless days weigh her down over time? She didn't know, but she was soon to find out. Anna stood at the living room window, watching each car as they drove past the house. Rene smiled, remembering the way Anna would search the skies on Christmas Eve in hopes of catching a glimpse of Santa. "D'Angela, Dawn! Move away from that window. You know, Santa won't come if he sees you snooping," Rene scolded, waving a spatula about in the air. "You are so crazy," Anna said, rolling her eyes. She did, however, move away from the window, just in case. "Help me set the table." "'Kay," Anna said, taking the good dishes from the cupboards. She really could think of a lot of things she would rather be doing, like staring out the window, but she did as she was told. She always had. Setting the table and wiping down the countertops did just what Rene had hoped it would do. It passed the time. She heard the sound of the engine of an expensive foreign car slowing down at their driveway. There was no stopping Anna this time as she ran to the door. Nick had barely closed his door when she popped out onto the porch. Rene walked up behind Anna and said, "Shut the door. You're letting the flies in." Then she greeted Nick. "Nick, I'm so glad you came. This girl is driving me crazy. Come in, come in." The southern charm oozed from Rene's lips. Nick was on her playground now, and it would be nice to show him some hospitality for a change. Tori and Nick had gone above and beyond to make her feel welcome, and so would she. Sometimes, when Rene spoke of Anna, she made her sound like a 10-year-old child, maybe 11, instead of a beautiful woman of 24. Nick was somewhat shocked by this revelation. He studied Anna as if she were some new alien creature. "I thought you said Ms. Anna was a baby." "She is no baby as far as I can see." Nick took Anna's hand, kissed it lightly, and hugged Rene tightly. "Well, she's my baby and always will be," Rene answered. They made their way to the living room, where Nick sat down and sighed loudly. "You wouldn't think we would get tired, but we do. It's not the same kind of tired as a mortal, but it's still being tired. It's a long drive from Richmond to your beautiful mountain." This had once been his mountain too, but time had taken a portion of his ownership. The big city was now his home, but Rene suspected that this mountain would always live in their hearts. Mountain life was simpler, a little less fast-paced. Rene appreciated that. "Something smells delicious." Nick made an exaggerated smell face. "I just threw some pork chops on and a little biscuit and gravy. I thought you might want some breakfast for supper. I don't think y'all do that much where you're from." Renee smiled as she acted like it was no big deal at all to whip up this table full of food. I couldn't tell you when the last time was. I can't wait. I'm starving. Well, let's go fix you a plate. Can't have you starving to death. Tori would kill us all. Anna gave her mother an exasperated look, not knowing how Nick would take it. Nick ate 2 biscuits smothered in hot sausage gravy and a large bone-in pork chop. He had 2 slices of tomato and some homemade blackberry jam from last year's harvest. He seemed very satisfied with his meal and patted his belly to emphasize that fact. If I had known you could cook like that, we would have tried to persuade you to stay on at the restaurant. Nick smiled, knowing full well she would never forsake her mountain. Just some old biscuits and gravy, not nearly fancy enough for your ritzy-ditzy customers. Rene blushed. You might be surprised, he said as he pushed his chair back, letting his tummy have more room. Let's go to the living room and rest a while, Rene said, already starting to clear the table. Can I help you with that? Nick asked, showing his southern manners. Oh, no, it's nothing. I got it. You and Anna get better acquainted. It won't take a second to get this all sorted out. Anna and Nick found their places in the living room, and Nick began to speak. Do you have any questions at all? Nick asked. He had made himself very comfortable at his end of the couch. I don't think so. I think Mom has answered pretty much everything. She said you could do that thing that won't make me remember or feel anything. Is that what you're going to do? Anna asked. If that is what you want me to do, that's what I will do, Nick answered very matter-of-factly. I think so. I'm not as brave as my mom. She is kind of a sadist like that. Anna giggled, trying to lighten the mood. Nick smiled and took a sip from his coffee. He knew Anna was terrified. He could feel her heart beating like a drum. The sound was deafening. Nature made him crave the adrenaline that fear produced. His palms were sweaty, and his mouth watered even after the amount of food he had eaten. He wanted nothing more than to taste her. He wanted to feel the warm copper flowing into his mouth. His attention span was minimal, so he was glad she didn't ask many questions that would have taken clear thought to answer. I just want you to know that I'm not doing this just for myself. I want to do good with the gift. I want to help people. I think I can, don't you? Anna looked at him as if she were begging for confirmation. Your mom told me why you wanted the gift. I think that is the most selfless reason I have ever heard. I believe you will do great things, Miss Anna. I truly do. Tori wanted to come for this visit, but the show must go on. It would be chaos if we were both gone from the restaurant at once. There would surely be fire, flood, or some other natural disaster. Nick laughed, recalling every other time they tried to leave and having something crazy happen. I wish she could have too, but maybe I will get to meet her someday. We will have nothing but time now, will we? Anna thought about this for a moment and realized she would have all the time in the world. Rene joined the two in the living room and sipped on her hot coffee, offering to refill theirs if they needed it. Do you want to do this now? Nick asked. He didn't want to sound pushy, but he really didn't know how much longer he could stand her pounding heart without going crazy. Now? Anna asked, growing a little anxious but excited all at the same time. Yeah, no time like the present, isn't that what they say? Nick quoted, acting as innocent as he could. The predatory nature was in full force at the moment, and he was doing his best to keep the beast at bay. Nick knew Rene felt Anna's quickened heartbeat. She had no desire to drink from her daughter, so it didn't affect her in the same way. However, Nick knew his role in this play and was overly excited to play his part to the fullest. He and Tori didn't partake in human blood often, but he did enjoy it quite a bit. Tori knew he could have a problem controlling his hunger, so she encouraged him to seek other sustenance most of the time. I fixed up the library for you, if that's okay, Anna. Rene took her child into her arms and hugged her so tightly she thought she would squeeze the air straight from her lungs. Mom, not so tight, Anna said as she hugged her mother back, but tried to wiggle free at the same time. Sorry, I'm just so happy and scared. It is all new to me, too. Who would have ever thought I would stand by and watch as a man took my baby into a room to kill her? I'm the original smoother mother." She stepped back and stared at her daughter. "What?" Anna said, straightening out her hair and feeling very uncomfortable. "I'm memorizing your face," Rene said as tears welled up in her eyes, threatening to spill over onto her perfectly sculpted face. "Oh no, there will be none of that business," Anna said, moving down the hallway to the library door. She was afraid her mother would chicken out and Nick would listen to her. The library was really just a room with several store-bought bookshelves lining the wall. There was a desk and a filing cabinet, but calling it a true library was a little bit of a stretch. Anna's mother had put down a beautiful red plush rug in the center of the room. No doubt to hide any blood that might get on it. She had candles burning, which was something she rarely did. She was always afraid of the fire associated with an open flame. Anna could smell lavender and lilacs. She didn't know where it originated. Nick sat on the carpet and held his hand out to Anna. She joined him willingly. Nick stared into Anna's beautiful blue eyes and said, "No pain, no fear." Anna instantly relaxed. She could still feel the soft carpet under her bare legs and smell the smells of the room, but she had no fear. Nick gently lay her on her side and snuggled against her back. He traced her shoulder with his finger, moving up and down the crease of her neck. He breathed in her scent, which was honeysuckle and roses. His body began to tremble, and his gums ached. He knew he couldn't hold this position long, or he would lose control, and he didn't want to. He placed soft kisses up and down her neck, and he felt her lean into them as a lover would. She exposed her flesh to him in such a way that he could no longer divine right from wrong. All he wanted was to have her essence fill him. He wanted to taste her glorious bounty. He opened his wrist with his now elongated fangs and fed her from his depths. She drew in the droplets willingly, with no hesitation. She had no desire to break free. She licked and swiped her tongue along the wound as he pulled it free from her lips. With one fatal bite, he drank from her. He nuzzled and cooed as a babe suckling from its mother. He gripped her wrists and pulled the very life from her veins. The last drop came too soon, and he released her from his grip before it, pulled him into death's grasp. Nick lay with Anna for a while, trying to regain his composure. He took no time to complete the task. He took Anna's fragile neck and snapped it as if it were a branch on a tree. He resumed his position behind her and closed his eyes to rest. Anna would awaken soon, and she would need him and her mother. He was lucky to have Rene to help him. He didn't like the feeling of another person's life being in his control. He didn't want that kind of power over another human being. She was no longer a human being, so that was a plus. Anna would awaken a goddess, a vigilante out to seek retribution for the weak. He had created a superhero, his very own Supergirl. He smiled as peaceful sleep came to him, with Anna nestled lovingly in his arms. Rene waited not so patiently in the living room for any word about Anna. She waited as long as she could before she couldn't take it anymore, and decided that she'd had enough. She lightly knocked on the library door. Although Nick was peacefully sleeping, he stirred at the sound. Then he quietly slipped his body from his new creation and left the room. "I was starting to get worried. How is she?" Rene said impatiently. "This takes time. Everybody is different at this stage. Some wake within hours. Some might take a few days to be fully awake and active. You just have to be patient. Do you want me to put her to bed?" Nick said, understanding Rene's apprehension. "I got her," Rene said as she entered the room and gently scooped up her daughter in her arms. When Anna was young, after falling asleep in front of the TV, Rene would carry Anna to bed. She dressed Anna in her favorite fuzzy PJs and tucked her in tightly. Rene was unnerved by how Anna looked just lying there on her back. She looked like she was waiting for the undertaker. All that was missing was the creepy way they folded the dead's hands on their bellies. That had always given Rene the willies. She gently turned Anna on her side and propped her pillow under her head comfortably. Now that was much better. This position was Anna's natural sleeping habit, and Rene should know, as she checked on her throughout the night many times. She would often come in just to see if Anna was still breathing. Anna hadn't been as young as one might have wanted her to be the last time Rene stalked into her bedroom unannounced. Rene had always done it, and probably would always do it, even if she had to steal a key if Anna decided to move away. Rene did this for her own sanity, not for Anna's sake. But still, she would continue her rituals for as long as they lived. Thankfully, that would be forever. As Rene made her way back downstairs, she smelled fresh coffee. Apparently, Nick had made himself at home after his nap and made some. Rene poured herself a cup and smiled when she realized what she was drinking. It was the potent Death Wish coffee, and she found that to be an appropriate choice considering the circumstances. When the first drop of the hot liquid hit her tongue, she could almost feel it hit her soul as well. This day had drained her both physically and mentally, but it was almost over. Soon, they could find peace. Rene didn't want any details, but Nick offered her the basics to ease her troubled mind. He explained that Anna was calm and at peace during the whole process. Anna had felt nothing. That detail did bring Rene comfort. Now all she had to do was wake up. That was the most critical part. When panic started to creep in, Nick would reassure Rene. He would tell her everything was exactly how it was supposed to be. He coaxed her to relax. Nick and Rene decided to gather all the snacks in the kitchen, some leftover biscuits and blackberry jam, and surf the movie channels. Channel 300 played a new movie every Saturday night. They decided to check it out. Strangely enough, it was the blockbuster hit of the previous year, with that gorgeous cruise and pit. The movie followed the life of one of the two characters. Rene and Nick laughed and gagged a little at how the industry portrayed their kind. Some things were spot on, while others were gross misrepresentations of the vampire species. Misinformation like this had both protected and put a bullseye on an entire group of people. Humans tended to fear what they didn't understand. They attacked their own kind for the slightest differences. Nick believed this would be their downfall. He had no idea how right he was. Rene climbed the stairs once more, as she had done all through the night. She looked in on her sleeping angel. This time, Anna wasn't as Rene had left her. Instead, she lay stretched out on her back with one leg thrown over the covers. Her arms were wide on each of her sides, like she was waiting for a big hug. A tiny bit of drool seeped from the corner of her mouth. Rene could now breathe. She knew Anna would awaken soon, and she could begin her new life as an immortal. Rene found there was no karmic punishment designed just for her. Everything had gone just like it always had gone, perfectly. She ran downstairs to tell Nick the news. She didn't have to say a word, and Nick knew. "I told ya," Nick said with a smug attitude, leaning back on the couch. "Yeah, I wasn't worried," Rene said as she hurried to the kitchen to make her baby's favorite breakfast, French toast, sausage, and eggs. The breakfast sat untouched well past lunch before Rene heard stirring from above. "I wake up now," Anna whispered, just as she did when she was a child. Rene had a fear that Anna would stumble down the stairs in her sleepy state, so being a good mother, she always required Anna to let her know when she was ready to come down. Rene raced up the stairs and burst into her baby's room. She found Anna standing in front of her mirror, which hung on the closet door. The sun poured through the window, making Anna's long blonde hair shine like corn silk. Rene could see through the reflective glass the perfect version of her daughter. She never imagined Anna could be more beautiful, but somehow, the magic had made her even more devastatingly lovely. Her eyes were huge, and the blue was the color of the bluest ocean. The same golden flecks as her mother's danced around the iris. Her cheekbones were prominent, and her lips were full and ruby red. Her skin was radiant and ivory white and glowed with health and youth. Rene felt as though she was watching the birth of her daughter for a second time. Anna turned and squealed like a child. "It worked!" she screamed. "Why, of course it did, silly girl. I wasn't worried at all." Rene waved her hand in the air as if she were shooing a fly. Both ladies turned to see Nick leaning against the doorframe, rolling his eyes. Yeah, she wasn't worried at all," he said, exaggerating every word. "Immortality looks good on you, Anna. Quite lovely, I must say." Nick reached for Anna's hand and leaned in to kiss her cheek. The formality of strangers was not needed anymore. I don't know what to say. How can we ever repay you? Anna said, returning his kiss. I'm just glad it all worked out. No thanks necessary, Nick answered, seeming a little uncomfortable by the outpouring of gratitude. I don't know any more than you do about how this all works, so I'm just glad it all worked out the way it was supposed to. I am a firm believer in that. Nothing will happen or not happen that wasn't in the cards anyway. So all I can say is, can we eat now? Your mother has all this food down there and wouldn't let me have anything but chips. Nick turned and started to stomp back down the stairs. He acted like a spoiled brat, but Anna thought it was kind of cute. Anna and her mother stood and stared at Anna in reflection for a few more minutes, and Anna found some sweats and a t-shirt to put on. It wasn't much of an improvement over the PJs, but it was comfortable. They followed Nick down to the kitchen and reheated the food. They were all starving. This breakfast was the best food Anna had ever tasted. She seemed to be able to dissect every ingredient in every dish. The maple syrup was sweeter than any she had ever tasted. Everything was perfect. Nick asked Anna when she wanted to try the other form of sustenance. He thought it was best to get the heebie-jeebies out of the way. Some baby vampires found this to be the most challenging part. He hoped Anna would take to it well, as it was a needed inconvenience. Can we let the food settle for a while? I don't want to lose all that hard work Mom did to make it. Anna made a snarling face as she spoke. We can, but you will have to do it soon. It is how you finalize your transformation. There is no other way but by taking the blood of a human. I'm sorry about that. Nick really did seem to be sincerely sorry. Rene wasted no time going into the kitchen and filling a red cup half full of the thick, unfamiliar liquid. She even snapped on a lid and gave her a straw to make it more palatable. Here you go. It's not that bad. Really, it's not. Just swallow it down fast like that nasty cough syrup you don't like. Rene handed her the cup and stood with arms crossed, all but tapping her foot like she did when Anna was a child and didn't want to take her medicine. Anna did just that. She slipped the lid back so it would be quicker and drank every last drop. She didn't give her taste buds time to register that this wasn't normal. She gasped air back into her lungs and handed the cup to her mother. There, it's all gone, Anna said in her best 6-year-old voice. Rene smiled and showed the empty cup to Nick. Well, we have a professional vampire here, don't we? Nick beamed like a father witnessing a new talent from their child. I can do that, Anna said with a stern determination in her voice. Never doubted you for a second. Her mother puffed out with pride. Nick stayed until the following Wednesday. He had to get back to the restaurant in Torrey. Anna and Rene could see that Nick felt her absence intensely. Their bond was so strong that Anna didn't even understand it. Rene really couldn't either because the children's father could not and would not bond with her or their children. Nick filled in all the blanks with Anna and did his best to prepare her as best he could for anything that might arise. Anna couldn't have been more grateful, not only for his loyalty, but also for his willingness to help. Two people solely based on the word of two mountain witches. Anna was thankful that this was a friendship that would last an eternity. She would need those now. That was so exciting! I'm so glad Anna made that decision. I hope you will join me to see what happens to our new friend next. Until next time, bye for now.